Hello, everybody, and welcome to Yo Pops podcast with me, Sean Williams, and my father.
Hello.
Well done! well done! Just nice, normal, easy. Now, do you want to give him your normal one? Go on, tell him.
Blessings.
God bless you. Heaven shine on you. Let the showers of blessing flood your house. Well done, Dad. I'm proud of you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Please remember to like, subscribe, share. Bishop L.A. Williams, at Bishop L.A. Williams is my father's URL, and tag his Instagram, his TikTok, his Facebook, and his YouTube, and me at Shean Williams World. It's not really at Shean Williams World, but because I chose to tell the doctors, no, I'm going to spell his name a bit differently.
He's different. He is different. So,
you know, that is the truest thing that he has said in this episode. I am that.
Yes.
But yeah, at Sean Williams World. Dad, how are you? How you feeling?
I am good. Great.
You are looking very refreshed.
Thank you.
I like the way the purple's working for you. It's nice.
Oh my goodness me! Shows up my wonderful color.
Okay. You know those moments where somebody says something like, "Okay, so, Dad, yeah. I was having a very interesting conversation with your youngest son, and as we all know, he is coming home in some weeks with some very special cargo that we're all looking for. I'm so glad you didn't spit that over me, because I don't know what I would have done. I would have maybe had to go get a glass of water and just be like, yeah? And I can start to feel, firstly, you can always tell when Wallace is near, right? Because Mum starts getting real. Well, she gets happy, and all of a sudden she wants everybody to do stuff together. So, oh, we should do this and we should do that. I'm like, your little baby's coming home. But one of the things that I really enjoy about when Wallace comes home is that you can feel the general excitement amongst the whole family, which is cool, because I'm also aware that if you have siblings, not everybody has textbook relationships with them. Some find ways to get along and to coexist. Some ignore each other. Some find a civil way to, frequent what I call communal spaces at holidays, like festive periods, occasions. Now, I was thinking about my brothers this week. And actually, Dad, on the basis of especially the last conversation, because I thought you were amazing in our last conversation. And the reason I thought you were amazing was because I visibly watched you sit with some very uncomfortable pieces of information at moments. And I watched you take it in, and through your own self-process, almost, you know, we've all got black bins, blue bins, green bins. Yeah. And the black bin that's for the incinerator. I just burn everything. It ain't no good. The blue one, you can recycle with that.
Of course.
And the green one, that'll be good for your garden. It will help stuff grow. And I watched you very, very carefully and amazingly put that stuff kind of in the boxes and the places that it needed to be. Now, what I wanted to ask you about was me and my brothers. What is your earliest memory of our chemistry as children? What was your earliest memory of our chemistry as children? Can you remember? Because obviously there's so much parenting that goes on through that, and I've asked you a very specific and nuanced thing.
Yes.
And be as honest as you can.
I am looking at it as it was. It was most interesting because you three came at different interval. And the interval was very important in the sense that one born, 3 years later, another one is born. 3 years later, another one is born. So therefore, you find therefore that the dynamics between 1 and 2 was most fascinating in that you see number 1 having to now share the family, the mother and father, with number 2. And I can see in at times it was okay. Enjoy the fun of a new arrival and having to deal with it. But then as time goes on, I think it becomes less fun
Of course.
for him, for number 1. And he would perhaps see himself of having to be helping out in perhaps small ways, whether it's go get the nappies or go get the bottle or whatever it may be. And so you have that, yet at the same time, excitement that he has a brother. He has, somebody apart from himself, somebody that he can play with and, and literally, and, be entertained by.
Yeah.
Now, as number 3 comes along, then again, you now reverse the situation, where you are excited for the fact that number 3 is here, and you see it as a great way going forward, because you are now being in a position where you are, I would say, almost in charge of the younger one, and you see it as a great opportunity to flex your muscles. You know what I mean? And that was most interesting. Now, one of the key thing that happened was that it then become a situation where, to a certain degree, a tug of war. Wow. When I say the tug of war, in that the big one, number 1, he is there from the beginning, and then here he got over the middle one, the second one, which is you, and now here he has now to deal with another one that comes. So it's like attentions has been split 3 ways now rather than 1 way, and it's a constant attention given to both yourself and to number 3. Now, the fascinating thing that I can remember is that you were different in that you enjoy the fact that you were in the middle, so you could play the game. Let's call it a game.
I can be big brother and little brother.
Exactly, on both sides of the fence, and you did it in a serious way, where you enjoyed it. You literally enjoy it. So whenever time it suits you, you're little brother. Whenever time it doesn't suit you, you're big brother. And number 1, I feel, has to always feel that he has to be in the middle between you two, and take responsibility not to offend you and not to offend him. Now, I oftentimes think that the number 3 thinks that he can rely on number 1's protecting him and understanding him. Yeah. So yeah, so that was how it was. And as you grow older, again, you had the benefit of having someone your age talking to you, almost taking you through your paces, where number 1 didn't have that. You know what I mean? At first, he's by himself, so therefore, is how much attention being given to him from us. And being in the ministry, then he would be relying on other siblings that are at his age. So he clearly were enjoying that, and I can think of a few people who was around his age that he seems to really get on with, and Yvonne is one of them, and all of that. And so when you come home, then he then have you both, and because of the age difference, things that you and younger one may find funny, amusing, he didn't particularly find it that way. And so yes, so I would say that is how it sort of grow.
And the chemistry and the dynamic was that way.
Yes, and I think to a certain degree still is.
That's interesting.
Yes, because there are times when you and number one gets on extremely well. Then there's a time when your number two, number three gets on very well. I mean, and there are times when number three and number one gets on very well. So it shifts around, it moves around.
Do you know, I always think in terms of, I have a certain admiration for Leon in terms of his first concept and idea of home was London. And there would have been a certain community and base around him, with your friends and our family and so on and so forth. And then you move with your family, with your parents. And for him, obviously, the thing that maybe makes it okay is that he gets the consistency of, right, mum and dad, and like you said, the attention and stuff. And then you're used to having the whole pie.
Yeah.
Then I come along, and now the whole pie is now half a pie.
Right. Yes.
So I've been introduced to the scenario and the situation where the basis of the whole pie for me is half. Right? But for him, he knows the pie as the whole thing. No, I don't have to share anything with you. And I almost think this might allude into why he used to be the way when we used to travel down places and buy stuff. Like, you know, when we go into the petrol station and buy stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, you now have Wally comes, and it's not so much of an issue for me because I've only ever known half of the attention pie.
Yes.
But to go from a whole pie to half a pie to a third of the pie.
Yes, this.
I could understand why that would be a little bit just like, that would kind of put you, like you say, that it put you out of whack a bit. Yeah, because you're used to this kind of this environment and this setting, and then it changes.
Yes.
And this is like a very honest question that I just want to know, just in terms of for myself. Do you think you and mum were aware of obviously the dynamic shift and how that might be, how he might be thinking about it or affecting him? Or was it a case where obviously a young couple, 'cause Dad, when I think you had Leon at 23 or 25?
24.
At 24, Dad, I wasn't doing things that would be to the responsibility level of I have a wife, I have a house, I have a child, and this is so my initial phase and just hearing that you had my brother at 24, Dad. It's amazing to me, and that is much of the thread line for lots of your generation, that step up and step into responsibility happened much earlier than what we're seeing now.
That's right.
Do you think, or were you able, thinking back now, to see any type of shifts in Leon's behavior, or even in how I was, on the basis of obviously like moving from London, coming to Cambridge? Or did you think it was more of a case of he just adapted to the environment around him and was just like, okay, cool, this is what's going on? And
he adapted to a greater or lesser degree because of the ministry. What I mean by the ministry, in the sense that he was never away from the people who he knew in London. So, every week we were going someplace meeting up with
Right.
people who we need. So that was kind of interesting. Now, of course, coming here, then as the ministry grows, then young ones like himself were coming into the church, and he, because of who he was extremely confident.
Got you.
And I think if you talk to someone like Missionary Duncan, she would tell you that he was instrumental in pointing her as a teacher to the church by inviting, doing outreach on the street, etc. So you can see the level of confidence he had, and I really believe that that continued right up until what I would call the split. Because, I mean, I think the split within the organization perhaps impacted him more than anything, because then, of course, you were not interacting with the other people that you know as much as you should. So that may impact him. But where you two are concerned, um, the personalities begin to show themselves, and you were more, what I call it, an extrovert, while for Leon he was more in some things, and this is what is quite interesting, because in something he's very much an extrovert, yet in other things he's more of an introvert.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it's more what he's comfortable with.
Okay.
There are certain things he's very comfortable with, and there are others that you can tell he's not comfortable with. So that clearly, you know, um, would demonstrate how he react or behave around certain things or with certain things. With Wallace, I think you feel like he's always on a learning curve, because he has two bigger brothers that is always doing things, and he's seeing it, he's having to learn it. But where I think he had the advantage is that because he's the youngest, there was that kind of excessive protection towards him, being the youngest. And imagine if you and him is playing and and you do something to him and he feel hurt, who is the first person you're gonna go to? Mom. If Leon and him is playing and something happened and he feel hurt, straight to mom. And so it is natural for mom to then assume that he's at a disadvantage.
Right.
You see what I mean? So to take up for him in that case.
Okay.
Now he wielded that very successfully. And sometimes when I'm at home and it happens, and then he would come to his mom, and his mom would say, "Okay, go to your dad," and he would come to complain about either of you two. You see, and depending on what it is, as to how I would address it, because I understand that as children you're perhaps playing, something happened and accidentally hurt him, but for him he want justice, sort of by any means necessary.
Right.
Yes, he would come, and let's say you all did him something and he feel, oh, this was really bad. You hit him or do something to him that he felt he was hurt. So he would come and he would complain. What I mean? First he probably come to mom, but if mom is busy, mom would say, okay, go and tell your dad. And he would come. So I would then call whoever it is. Sometimes it's all three of you because of what games you were playing. Perhaps jumping on the bed, something happened and he got bounced off. So I would say to him, okay, can you show me what they did to you? And he would sort of show me, and he say, for example, if you hit him, it said, oh, he hit me. I said, no. I want you to show me and him. Said you. So it was kind of a unique situation where to appease him, I would say, show me what he did, and then he has to come and hit you. Show me exactly what he did on you, Leon. So when that happened, he used to love it. Minute later, he'd stop crying, laughing, because he feel he's been, the situation is justified. So that's what happened, and you all grow up understanding that. Of course, there were certain protocols. For example, if we travel in the cars, if mom is not there, then none of you, second and third, never sit in the front. Always number one. So it was.
Do you know what? Can I be honest? Sometimes I would get to a place where I'd sometimes want to start a riot and not want to go. No, and let me explain that. And honestly, and I think there was a couple of occasions where, like, you said to me, it's like, listen, you're getting to that place, and this is going to stop being a conversation very shortly. But I felt so aggrieved because, no, honestly, and I understood what you're doing, because in terms of positioning, okay, 100%, you're creating something that allows everybody to have place and meaning. And also, looking back now, it was an amazing way for Leon to be asserted as in a visual, like cool, there, because you've given so much, and you've had to kind of deal with so much. Then the least I can do is, in this little way, I'm going to make this seem like it's the most important seat in the whole thing. The only problem I had with it was that I totally disagreed with the fact that it wasn't merit. It was based on position, which meant that no matter how bad you were still going to get that. And no matter how great another person was, they may never come into contact with that. Does that make sense?
Of course.
And so, whilst I understood the brilliance of kind of being like, no, if there's a pecking order and at times it did make me, it made me wonder, and it also made me slightly aggravated.
Yes.
Because I was like, this doesn't seem
right.
fair.
Yeah.
Dad, one of the things I want to ask you, what do you think is one of the main causes that influences sibling chemistry? Either a great chemistry between them or no chemistry at all?
I think it depends a great deal on how they perceive they are treated by either parent.
Wow.
You see me? Because there are some children, they will straight away tell you that their mother doesn't like them. You know what I mean? And there are those who tell you that their father doesn't like them. Yeah. And then you've got those who mother and father love them, but some love them to a greater degree.
Right.
And it is what I was alluding to when I said about loving your children, because it is that chemistry, it is that compatibility of spirits where you feel a lot more compatible with one more than you would with the other.
Do you know
in some things.
You've just, don't lose your thread of what I've asked you, because remember the question I asked you is, what do you think determines or influences the chemistry of siblings? Okay. What you've just said there is massive, because I think I'm not a parent, so I don't have this.
Yeah.
It's a massive taboo with parents to admit or talk about favorites.
Of course.
Yet the reality is, if you put a gun to a parent's head and go, listen, and I think the problem that most parents have is that they've never found a way to explain it that validates and justifies, because the minute we say favorite, it's a leaning towards that I will do more for you than I would for the other, and it's not the case.
Yeah. No.
And what you just said was amazing, because when a person alludes to saying that a person is their favorite, it is a compatibility of spirits that mean that your natures happily coexist in the same space.
Absolutely.
Guys, your parents, though they may have a favorite, does not mean they don't love you. We have favorite parents. which is a compatibility of spirits that means your natures lean into each other, that the coexisting of that is just like air and water.
Yeah.
It makes it easy. Keep going, Dad. That was
Yeah.
wicked.
So
You just helped a lot of parents out for Christmas.
It's
like, I haven't got a favourite,
Yes.
which is spirit compatible. It's fine. Natures.
Yeah, it does, and it sometimes causes problems with the partners, wife and husband,
Yes.
because if their father feel compatible with a daughter, they're going to communicate and interact in a way by which um, the mother would want to be happening to her.
Yeah.
And it is one of the downside in having children, because then you feel that they are taking each other's love away from each other.
Wait, Dad. One of the downsides of having children is that you feel like they're taking each other's love. How do you mean?
So a mother
Yeah.
spending the amount of time with a child,
Yeah.
that is her focus.
Okay.
Yeah, and unless there is that what you call nana here, grandparents,
or like an au pair or a nanny,
yes,
or a childminder.
Yes, unless they come and is active in taking that child out, so as to give both parties opportunities to spend quality time together, then you'll find that continues, and it lead into one being more communicative, more interactive with the other. Okay, like say in the case of the three, the youngest one now is always in need because he's the youngest one, so he has to be close to his mother.
Right.
And in most cases, you'll find younger children are tend to be, in quote, the favorite. It's not because they're, as I said before, but because of so much time spent with them to not only protect them, reassure them, but also, they take up a lot of your time. So where fathers, in particular, don't have that same maternal instinct, they're more, okay, let's go out to the field, let's go play ball, let's go do the rough and tumble things. You see, and that is good. But there's some that gets on with their father, some don't, depending on the person's spiritual compatibility and
nature,
of course. So it can fluctuate immensely. Now, once that compatibility is conceived and accepted, then it can have good side, it can have upside, and it can have downside. Okay. Upside is that when the one compatible with you is around, your world is a glorious place. When he's not there, or they're not there, then your world could become a very cold place. Because you're not getting the attention that you normally would get when the person you feel compatible with is there. And others will make it clear that now that person is not there, we are the one in charge. You're going to be subjugated to whatever we want. And if their spirit is very aggressive, then they don't want to tolerate it. They don't want to stand for it, and they will do extreme things.
I just wanted to hop back very quickly to something that you said before about obviously having three boys, well, actually having three children and then having them in the time periods that you did. I always loved being a big brother, but sometimes I look back now and I was just like, I might have been a bit too intense.
You were very intense,
Dad. Really
very intense.
Some of the stuff that, especially kind of looking at like being, what's the word I'm looking for? Nothing could happen to Wallace.
Yeah.
which would and because I believe in prevention over cure.
Right.
I'd be like, if you don't do this, you don't do that, then that can never happen. And if that can never happen, then I keep it in a really nice space here.
Right.
Yet there were other times when I was just like, nah, I don't really want to I don't want to be in this space on the basis of a little brother situation because you had no power. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you oftentimes annoyed Leon a lot. You did because as of your intensity on every level, you know. Do you remember some podcasts ago I said to you that you were never one to look back? You're always driving forward.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Now that was you. You see, now Leon had to exercise constraint. One, because he was the senior, so everybody had that expectation of him. And I think you flaunt the whole the whole situation.
How do you mean?
Because anything happens, the first person you're going to blame is the bigger one.
Right.
And therefore you know that. So you would set it up, so that he does something or something happen and he has to pay the price for it. You know what I mean?
How? I wouldn't do stuff to get him in trouble because he'd never come and do the bad stuff with me.
Oh, no, you do.
Like what? Give me an example.
It all depends on what you all are doing.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying to you. But there are things you'll either say or do that offended him. And we know, and especially if you two get into a fight, because you used to just love it. You used to just love to get into a fight with him. You know what I mean? Even though you know he's much bigger than you and you're not going to win, but it's just the thought of it happening and see how far you can push the boundary. You did. And I think even now you sometimes still enjoy doing, but he always resort back to that bigger brother protection or protectiveness. Yes, it does. Annoying, but he's my brother.
Do you know what? I think when I look back, some of my frustration with Leon is that I would look at him and I'd be like, if I was in your position, do you know what I'd do?
Exactly.
I just, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's just always like, I'm like, if you're the firstborn, you get to do this, that, this, and that. And I'm like, almost, and I don't mean it in a negative way, Lee, I don't mean this personally. It's like driving a Ferrari and never getting out of the second gear. It's just like, what did you buy a Ferrari for?
But that was you, though.
No, but Dad, which is why talking to you about this is amazing, because if anybody sat there and said, oh, do you think that you were intense? I'm like, no, I was the most easygoing person ever. I just wanted to do what I was doing. But now you're talking, I can sit there and go, yeah, I could probably...
Oh, you were very extreme.
Well, yeah.
Extreme, like happily climb on the window and think, okay, I wonder what will happen if I jump off. You know what I'm saying? But would I fly?
But Dad, I also think that because... yes.
That's what you do. Let's look at some evidence. Let's get into the milkman cart and decide to drive it.
But Dad, can I tell you what happened in the milkman's cart? I asked him if I could drive it and he said no. And when I asked him why, the reason he gave me was not palatable.
Exactly the point. So that was you. I mean, so he couldn't justify why you shouldn't drive it. So you decided that you're going to run around the milk cart until he's not looking. You see me? Jump into the milk cart. That's one. You see what I mean? Again, I mean, if you do things at school and it's gonna get you into trouble, you either hide the letter, forge one, you see what I mean, to go take back to the teacher, you see what I mean? And you would do that and hoping you don't get caught. You would think, okay, well, there's Dad's car key, sitting there, and where he's at church, and he he's gone with the van, or so. wonder what it's like driving.
Dad, stop.
It's a bit...
So, all right, cool. I get your point. There's a certain level of intensity to that. I get it.
Okay.
But then that would make me then think, okay, I'm more about trailblazing than I am, and not flaunting the rule. What's the word?
Of course you do. Of course you do. You do that wherever you go. You push the boundaries. That was very natural. Do you remember a song? Do you remember some songs you wrote?
Dad, stop.
It's
so okay. So then that makes sense. All right. So then my intensity levels would annoy my bigger brother, which obviously would be that's just
not only her, not only him. Maybe it would annoy a lot of people. But
wait, you can't drop a grenade like that and then just come in and come out. What do you mean
no,
annoy a lot of people?
Yes, you do. But what you had going for you was they just love you.
Wait there. Dad, you can't be annoying people and then turn around and go, they love you. What do you mean?
You see, you what is it that Mr. Ware said? He said, you see, Mr. Ware gave a perfect definition of you. He said, yes, you talked to me. He said, your son, he will rise or fall to whatever level you expect him to. And that for me was, Mr. Ware, if you're listening, that's what you told me. And
Mr. Ware, thanks.
It was spot on. Spot on. He said that if you have a great expectation, you'll rise to it. If you have a low expectation, you'll sink to it. That was it. So you were not bothered. You felt you got the confidence that you could take on any challenge, big, great, small, whatever. And that is how you do. So people find that fascinating. People find that absolutely fascinating. Like when you went down the road to go and engage the lady who is how many years older than you?
Who?
Maureen.
Oh, jeez. Whoa. I'm Maureen. Whoa. I totally forgot. Do you know what? When I think about engagements, I only ever remember stealing Mum's ring for Natalie Turner.
No.
Dad, honestly.
That was one of them.
And then,
even now when she sees you, she still makes a joke about it. Are you still going to marry me?
Oh, my gosh.
So that was you.
That's wild.
You know what I mean? And imagine Leon has to deal with all of that.
That's a lot.
You know what I mean?
That's a lot.
You at school, I could imagine the same thing. Leon, you know what your little brother done?
Yeah. That's a lot.
You see? So yes, I think his patience has been tried. You know what I mean? Now, with Wallace, as I said, Wallace flipped between you both. You know what I mean? And used it very much to his advantage as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he knew he had the favor of his mom being the youngest, not because she overly loved him more than
my mom. Okay. Now we always said to the people at home, we're going to be completely honest. Okay. Let me break this down, Dad.
Indeed, go ahead.
Okay. And this is based off of my definition of favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And my definition, I need to stop touching my mic. My definition of favorites is the natural spiritual compatibility that allows the amalgamation of your natures to exist in an environment harmoniously.
Mm-hmm.
So on that basis, I would say, and that's my definition of favoritism,
Mm-hmm.
on that basis, I would say Wallace is Mum's favorite,
Mm-hmm.
I'm yours,
Mm-hmm.
and Leon is you both's.
Right.
I've always said that individually, Mum, Wally, me, Dad, put Mum together, Leon.
Mm-hmm.
Because Leon was the tie.
Yeah.
Within
Of
the
course.
relationship
Yes,
that
yeah.
then makes it go, okay, this is where we are, this is what we're doing. And then when you leave what you've known to go somewhere new, you're like, right, together, we're going to do this, but this is what we're looking
Yeah,
after. And
yeah.
and I think if you ever, and you wouldn't see, maybe you would see it, if you ever see you, Mum, and Leon together, there is a certain natural synergy
Yes, true.
where when you see, and I'll hang out with your mum as well at times, but the comfortability you'll all have when it's you, Leon, and Mum, I think that comes from for me it'd be eternity past because I
Yes,
wasn't
yeah,
even about.
yeah, that's true.
But it lets me know what the environment of the home was like when you all lived in London.
Yeah, very much, and you're correct. You're absolutely correct there. Because when you see him, it's still that automatic feeling
Yeah.
of whatever happened, you take care of your brothers. It's that sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
And he has the personality for it. No matter we may get mad with you today or tomorrow, but when it comes down to it, he's right there when it's needed. And so yeah, it's a kind of incredible dynamics, and I love when I see you three together doing things. It's fascinating to watch.
Dad, how do you as a parent, because even when I get to that stage in my own life, I want a competitive edge within my children, but I don't want them to see each other as competition.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think that the edge, and when I say a competitive edge, I just mean in that basis to extract the very most out of your potential. And where that lands you, that's the only competitive edge that you have, because you're like, no. We've all come from the same stock, so I want to see just how much potential extraction I have, rather than feeling like everything I do is going to be a judge next to this person or next to that thing or next to the other. How do you make sure that one doesn't turn into the other, Dad? Because obviously one can push people to purpose, but the other can destroy the synergy of family.
Again, I'm going to allude to something that Mr. Ware said.
Mr. Ware, you're getting a lot of airtime.
Yes,
we might have to bring him on,
Yes.
No, because he follows me on Facebook.
Yes.
Mr. Ware follows me on Facebook.
Okay.
I check my Facebook like once every 2 years,
Yes.
and then I remember it said Henry Ware started following you, and I froze like I was in year 6, Dad. Oh my gosh, Mr. Ware's following me.
Yes, he was very, very smart.
My most influential teachers ever: Debbie Raines, Henry Ware, Nicholas Kinlott, Nick Williams. And do you remember Miss Setchell?
Yes.
Had her for a very short time. She was amazing for me, Dad. And Jill Pauling.
Right.
I had my head teacher at the time. Because you remember when I did the song for Christmas and she left the voicemail saying, "Don't let Jezebel's camp get you." At 10.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes, indeed. Something that he said I thought was really telling. He said, you were just ascending to the proverbial height of your singing, starting to ascend. And he looked at me and he said, you have to make sure that you don't allow your ambition of what you would want to be what Sean's going to do. So in other words, you see yourself as some celebrity, and therefore you're now going to push him to be that celebrity. That was Mr. Ware said that.
Wow, that's a brave guy.
He very much so. But I understand the logics, and I've seen where other parents have done exactly that. And even to people who didn't have your talent, didn't have your ability.
But you'd even discern in that a level of care that
Absolutely.
goes beyond you just being
Precisely.
a teacher.
This
is the person that's going, no, I'm going to teach this person so that he's rounded.
That is exactly correct. So he was not moved by your gift, by your ability. It was the fact that he's more concerned that, going forward, you should be your person, not anybody else's. And so I understand that. and I appreciate. That's why I'm still talking about it now,
Yeah.
because of the value. So, in like manner, is seeing that development, seeing how you both, all three of you, sort of find your own path, as it were, and navigate your way with the different skills and activities, that sort of happen. Because how many people would know that Leon is a very skilled drummer?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Same thing with Wallace.
And a fantastic singer.
Exactly.
Both of them can.
Indeed. So yes, so it really was compatible in more ways than one. And for me, one of the highlights of your three younger life is when I ship you all off to South Africa. And again, it sort of highlight what I was saying earlier on, that it would have been exciting for you three to be getting onto a plane without mommy and daddy, going to a place you've never been before, to, in principle, strangers. But I just felt that it's an experience that you all would never forget.
True. I think on the balance of it, a lot of what you purposed, I think, came off well because the intention behind it was good. I also think that there were things that you wanted to happen and achieve in your own life at a certain stage. You're like, if I can have this for my children, it'll be amazing. And I think that there's a lot of your generation that has that.
Yeah.
It's why you work so hard. But what I like about this season that we're in now is that communication is offering for greater understanding.
Yes.
And to be able to go, I did this and I don't regret doing this, but I now understand how I may have been able to do this better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Dad?
Of course.
Because the reality is, it wasn't how I wanted to spend my summer. And I didn't get a chance to talk about how I wanted to spend my summer, right? Yet at the same time, when you split the difference, you realize that there are relationships, and as a person, you're so much more rounded and grown. And not only that, there were situations and issues that happened that required us as siblings to really take stock in certain moments. There were moments where we weren't liking each other. I remember we went to a tennis court, and because at the time the conversion from the rand to the pound was so strong, oh, Dad, we bought all the top tennis stuff. And I remember at the time Leon had started tennis coaching, and he had taught Wallace like how to do like a proper forehand, Dad. And when I say Wallace absolutely dismantled me in this tennis game to the point that I got so angry. I've got my racket, Dad, and I'm doing John McEnroe. I'm smashing it, and also, Dad, hated losing. No, when I say hated. And I remember the guy that was looking after us was a lovely guy called Ralph. And he watched and watched and watched until he got to the point where he was just like, no. I remember him saying to me, he was just like, was that worth it? Rackets all bent and mangled. And this is a man that understands what you've just spent in a moment on a racket would have put food in a house.
Yes, true.
And you did that because you're angry you didn't beat your little brother.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first times I got an insight into the negative part of my nature.
Right.
Because I'm in a situation for a lot of my childhood where, because of the gift I have, it provided escape for a lot of things that I should have got into more trouble about. That.
Yeah, that's what I'm like.
But I'm thankful within myself that I had enough self-awareness. And not only that, like, that I knew I loved God from a really early age. Like, and when I say love him, I don't mean like, oh, I go to no. I will make life-altering decisions based on my love for God. Yeah. And it was that made me go, okay, there's parts here that I need to look into, and And especially where Wallace was concerned, not so much with Leon, because in my head I was just like, you get to do so much of what I want to do. I ain't got no time to feel sorry for you. There's nothing that you should feel sorry about. But obviously you get old and you look and you go, that's a lot. I don't know if I could have dealt with that or done the other. But I do feel like siblings are a mirror to who you really are.
Indeed.
And I think depending on what you see in that mirror, you're either going to trust it, or you're going to stay as far away from it as possible. Does that make sense, Dad? And so I wanted to ask you on that basis, if let's say you've got a group of siblings and they're civil with one another, but they are not in the active state of love, right? And the chemistry and the camaraderie that you should have. And it could just be a simple thing that natures are different.
Yeah, nature can lend itself to it, but I think there's something far more common that causes love towards each other to
diminish.
Yes, and to be up and down like a yo-yo. One of it is what we call the environment. Whatever you lend yourself, whatever environment you lend yourself to, it is going to influence how you develop, how you see people around you, and how you think about yourself. You see, so, and I think that Jesus really nailed it when he said that because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will wax cold. And that is what you look at now. If you look at a lot of children as siblings growing up together, at the best of time, they're best friends, they're great, But as they begin to get old into their teens, they are mixing with other teenagers that are, questionable.
So it's diluting,
begin to impact the environment, and therefore affect the way now, and that's what caused a lot of relationship to be destroyed, because somebody comes in and think, you know what, the love you got for that one, I should have it, and therefore I'm gonna find all the bad things about him to tell you, and it's still going on in the city. You'll, perhaps sometimes you go into town, or you'll hear somebody gonna go to say Leon or Wallace and say, oh, this is what Sean says, or this is what I heard that Sean says.
Do you know why they can never do that? Because I'm not about enough for them to even, they don't see
I'm just
me.
using it as an
No,
example.
I know, but I just wanted to put out there just in case, because you're not going to see me.
Yeah.
I'm not really about.
But it is not the you that they see that makes it, is what is conveyed.
I understand.
To people, even though it may not be true.
No, 100%. But when my brothers can turn around and go, you're a liar, because that boy doesn't leave the coordinates of here, 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 and answer is these three numbers.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
That can very much happen.
No, that much very much that's what happens.
Yeah. However, what I'm saying is that...
I'm not on road.
Yes. What I'm saying is that if other people, for whatever reasons, or for their own insecurity, can convey stuff to people who they feel, you know what, I want to be seen in that book, in that person's book, as a good, get favors, etc. So let me feed some information to the relevant people. So anyway, so the point of the matter is this: the environment really can impact how you treat everybody, not just your sibling, but it crosses even sometimes over to other people that you treat your parents.
So then how would you purify the environment, Dad, if it's creating or leaving a toxic trace?
One would have to create an awareness.
Okay.
You see, you have to get that individual and bring him to that place of awareness in saying, okay, where can you and how can you justify what you're thinking, feeling, seeing, of these people around you. And it's only that awareness is going to let him sit back and say, okay, I can't I can't justify it because I just hear about it and I believe it. But there's no evidence, there's no truth, there's no facts to say this is has happened or hasn't happened. You know, I mean, my own life is, you know, an example of that. People who don't know me, like the day when I met this man, and I say hello to him because I know him, and I was assuming that he knew who I was because we met. You know, he come to the church, etc. And from hello, how are you, etc. It went to a fully blown him criticizing me to me.
Hmm.
You know, so
Isn't that something?
You imagine you stand there for 1 hour and here's somebody criticizing you to yourself without knowing it's you that is standing there. And while he was doing it, I'm asking him questions about me to make sure that, you know, it is really, and he's answering it. And so I'm thinking, and then when he finishes, even till this day, he don't know that he was talking to me. I just said, okay, nice to meet you, goodbye, and went.
So what made you have a conversation that 99.9% of people wouldn't have after realizing the situation they were in?
Because it was just fascinating to hear how people can conjure up stuff,
Yeah.
you know, without any truth to it. It may be purely by their own perception of what they think is happening, has happened, going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that for me was quite fascinating to hear that.
So do you think it was a case of, because there was nothing he was going to say that was going to affect how you think, feel, what you know
Indeed.
about you,
Mm-hmm.
then it was quite easy for you to listen just
Absolutely.
from a space of absolute, what's the word
indeed.
I'm looking for? Intrigue.
And see, I had no feeling of resentment towards him or anger towards him, because it's clear that his argument was not factual.
Right.
You know what I mean? And therefore, why would I then be storming my own soul with something that's not factual?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I hear
Because
what you mean.
somebody else is saying it.
100%.
Isn't it? So no. Until today, you don't know that I know. That was me that he was talking to.
So on the basis of what you're saying, that the greatest way to eradicate negative attributes and to promote positive ones is to proof the environment.
It's exactly.
What soil are the plants you're trying to grow
Indeed.
in?
And it's a bit like that thing you showed me, that film with
Inside Out.
Inside Out. Yeah. So it's basically so different things affects people different ways. So
Yeah.
the environment kind of has a lot to do with it.
You're talking about the belief system, how things are attached to that creates your version of events for you.
Indeed.
And Dad, I think that's a massive thing, that much of what rules sibling chemistry is perception.
Yeah.
Firstly of self.
Yeah.
And then who you perceive to either be getting more than you. Well, actually, it's always more than you, because anybody that's getting less than you don't even think, worry yourself thinking about, because it's this.
Yeah. What benefit they can bring to your world, and what you will do to attract that benefit.
Can I ask you some quick fire questions?
Sure.
Okay. Can you tell me the most proud moment you've had hearing about Leon Wallace and I together? And it could have been anything. We could have been staying at someone's house and like, oh my gosh, the boys are just so wonderful. Or we could have done a project, or we could have done, I don't know, we could have maybe fight some people at the park because they were trying to come against us or something.
No, I think my proudest moment is when you all were performing together.
Really?
Yes, in the church, yeah.
Why?
And different events.
Why?
Because it was just fantastic to, well, here you were, it says, you three singing. Because you know, what most people don't know, you three were very good singers.
No, for sure. I'm just quite in.
Yes. As a threesome.
Yeah, but for me, I would sit and go, and this is just me. and I think maybe, yeah, I would sit and go, well, no, I put you on a plane not knowing how you were going to get to the other side. You could have killed each other at any point. You would have needed to conflict resolve. You would have needed to stay together. There would. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I sit there and I go,
but the conditions that was laid down, if you remember, I laid down some rules, some ground rules.
how do you mean?
Well, number one, Leon was to take care of you and Wallace, and as the eldest. And
Do you remember what happened on that trip?
Hmm?
Do you remember what happened on that trip?
In what sense?
Do you remember who he met on that trip?
No, come.
Then think.
Yeah.
No, stop and think for a second.
Right.
What taking care was going on?
Hmm?
What taking care was going on? No, because you just sat there and just said, oh, and I'm saying to you, because I've just seen your brain go,
No,
I'm talking. Yeah, good point.
No, I'm talking about the condition that was laid down for that trip.
Can I be honest with you? Half the crazy stuff I did, do you think that you sat there and said, Sean, I want you to cut the carpet, go and jump in the milkman's car? Saying, Dad, I love you. Do you really think we're listening down to your conditions?
No. I mean, you may not have listened to it, but it was what guided the whole process. And
I cut the carpet because my mum bought me Velcro shoes when I asked for laces, Dad. I drove the milkman's cart because he said I couldn't drive it. I took my mum's engagement ring because I asked her if I could engage Natalie Turner. She said no. So I said, well, you're not using it, so I'm going to take it anyway. So whilst I understand what you laid down, I'm just talking about the practicality of what actually happened. So you're saying that the reason me, Leon, and Wallace singing together takes more preeminence is because you set some guidelines.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you make mention about traveling.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, so I was saying to you what happened when you were gonna travel.
Yeah, but so I'm asking you that because of the guidelines you sat down, that then you think that then shaped the basis of everything else, which means that then as a whole, right, three boys on a totally different continent speaking in a language they do not understand and performing, that's less than like us doing some stuff at some events.
Now, again, as I said, that the purpose behind the things I do
Yeah.
people may not readily understand it.
Right.
But in terms of the question that you were asking,
yeah,
I was saying that Leon had a responsibility to make sure that you and Wallace was okay.
Right.
You had a responsibility to make sure that Wallace was okay. And if Wallace became unhappy with being there, everybody was coming back. And that was what was the situation. I think if I can remember, you all were making sure that Wallace were never unhappy.
Can I be honest? I don't remember any of that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen. No, I definitely think you would sat there and you would have said, Leon, right, this is the basis, I think you would have said to me, right, listen to your brother. When he says something that I wasn't aware. And now this also could have been because I wasn't listening at this point. But there was no part of me that was aware that if Wallace was unhappy, we were coming home.
I think when it comes really,
no, 100%.
Relax.
No, 100%.
But that was one of the conditions. And I think if I remember talking to you all about it, and you saying that there was a time when he wasn't happy about things and what you all did to make sure he was happy. But
what did we do? What did we do?
I can't remember what the exact situation, but
okay.
Again, we can ask him when he
comes. No. Wally,
yeah.
You have some questions to answer, buddy,
yes.
when you come back. We need some clarifications on some stuff because Dad might be here embellishing. But
I'm not.
He says he's not.
Right.
Very quickly, what would you say one of Wallace's greatest strengths is, or his greatest strength?
He's independent.
What would you say is Leon's greatest strength?
Is I think he's compassionate.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I'd agree. I think I've not met a person that meets Leon that doesn't like him. He's a great people person.
Yes, he is.
what is your abiding memory of the three of us? It can either be a situation, good, bad, funny, indifferent.
Being at a place like convention together.
Okay.
I think that for me was there were proud moments when, we were together at these massive conventions. And,
Nice.
It was good.
Nice. Dad, thank you. Appreciate you always. Guys,
Yes.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We hope that you have had some amazing information and heard some great conversation, and also felt the authenticity of the level of conversation we're having. We're hoping that by us having these conversations and you experiencing them in real time, they will encourage you and help you and prepare the ground for you to have these conversations either with yourself, with those closest to you, or even if you're just planning to kind of start to look at thinking in a different way. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We are on YouTube. My father is on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and his URL even is at Bishop L.A. Williams. Perfect. And you can find me at Sean Williams World. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
So from me, goodbye, take it easy, and Dad,
Stay blessed.
bye guys, we'll see you next time.